Hey there, introverts and deep thinkers. Welcome to Introverts Unmuted, the podcast where we prove that quiet doesn't mean invisible and deep thoughts deserve a mic. If you've ever felt drained by small talk, mastered the art of sneaking out of the room, or wished the world understood the magic of solitude, this is your space. We're diving into everything from navigating social energy to embracing creativity, confidence, and the unique power of being an introvert. So get comfy, plug in, and let's turn up the volume on our quiet confidence. I'm Hansel, and this is Introverts Unmuted. Today, I have with me Berlyn. We are talking about just marketing and simplifying it because we as introverts love to overthink things and make things way more complicated. But she is a digital marketing strategist and founder of Planted Marketing, a full service agency that specializes in organic content marketing. So welcome.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here and to talk all about this and give people some good ideas. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So tell me first, so Planted Marketing, that name, I love it. I love your vibe around it. Tell me, how did that come apart?
Thank you. So I got started working with a lot of small businesses, solopreneurs, and in that stage, and a lot of people were coming to me like with their idea, and they're like, okay, now what do I do? So I was literally planting and like building the foundations for everybody. And it's evolved over the years. So now we're more of a full service agency. We work with startups and more established brands. But I do miss that. I did miss that side of things working with solopreneurs. So I started the greenhouse. I really stuck to the theme here and launched that earlier this year. And that's a community for people to come and get resources as they're DIYing everything and get support along the way. So still have the theme, still work with people in all stages of business. And that's how that came about.
I love that you took that, and it's really about all the stages and growing and planting in that foundation first and setting up that strong business. Mm-hmm. So how do you, as someone, say they, are beginning, or maybe they've started for a little while, how are you recommending that they start with? What does a strong business foundation look like?
Yeah,
it's a pretty broad question.
I mean, yes and no, but it's a good one. So 3 things that I really recommend to get started is, like, first of all, knowing your branding, which is more than just like your logo and your colors, but it's really about who you are as a brand, what are your values, who's your target audience, how do you support them, and taking time to really dive into that. It's something that we kind of forget a lot. And to be honest, I'm 5 years into my business and I just did my own brand strategy this year. So could have made a lot of difference if I'd done that a long time ago. So highly recommend doing that. The second thing is having your website and taking time to invest in that, whether it's by hiring or by really taking time to learn and set it up yourself. Your website is like your always on 24/7 employee, and it's always working for you and is promoting and representing your brand. And as introverts, we're not the ones always doing that. So it's good to have like something really strong built there to kind of like keep people in your funnel and into your newsletter. So I also recommend having an email sign up on your website to capture people, even if you're not totally ready to start like doing regular newsletters. You want to start owning your audience, and that's a good way to do that. So those are a few things that I recommend diving into to begin with, and often get overlooked, even though it sounds maybe kind of basic. We just kind of get excited, we start going, we're on social media, we just kind of, a lot of people use that as their website. So I always recommend like diving into those 3 things first.
Yeah, and I think as introverts, it really gives us a different vibe because then we don't have to be on. Things can work behind the scenes, having a blog if you're a writer, and even if you're not, just getting that out there and creating on that website so that the SEO is going to be working for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. SEO is huge. There's so many things. We think that like we have to be out there, and we do in a way, but there are so many things that we can have working for us in the background and only be out there in the times where it's feeling most aligned. We all have like spurts of energy, right? So we can use that to our advantage, but we can always have things working in the background like SEO, like your newsletter, like strong evergreen content in different places. So yeah, that's important to have as well.
Yeah. And then because I love the idea too of email marketing, I think it's really important to have so that we can build that community of people around us, and not just to, not just clients, but the support that you can receive through that. I occasionally this morning went, reading emails and I was replying to them. And I think it's something that we need to do more of, is really communicating differently with our community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are getting burnt out for sure on different platforms. So having these different systems set up in place to connect with people is really important. And something I've been hearing a lot is that like word of mouth, referrals, in-person events is where people are seeing the most success these days. And so if that's not really like your vibe, having these more one-on-one connections with people is a great place to do that. And you can do that like in email, like get people have like questions and encourage people to respond to your emails. So even though you are like blasting out a newsletter, you can create conversation from that. Or maybe you're spending time like messaging people on social platforms or on LinkedIn or something like that. Or even in like online communities, those have been really powerful. And it's still a great place to make more personal connections without like being face to face, and you can do it on your own time. So those are really important to kind of dive into.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize all the different avenues that we have available to us to create that connection and have these conversations. And because there are so many, what is a way that we can simplify it for solopreneurs that are like, hey, well, I'm one person and I don't want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
How do we choose?
That's a great question too. So one, to simplify it, that's why you really want to have a strong foundation, which is in like your branding, your messaging, your website. So that way you do always have something to refer people back to. So to make it simple, and like how I recommend starting this out, which I know this might sound overwhelming, I'm going to recommend a lot of things, but I like to consider thinking about marketing as a wheel, and like the different things that you're doing are spokes in the wheel. So you don't want to rely on one thing, because if that spoke falls out, then your whole marketing funnel is down, your business is down. And a lot of people like to rely only on like Instagram, for example. And what are you going to do when Instagram's down for the day, or like when the algorithm stops or changes and stops showing your content? Like you don't want to rely only on one thing. So I like to do like a spoke exercise with people to kind of identify 5 things maybe that they can be semi-consistent with, right? So maybe like one of those things is LinkedIn, and you're just posting once a week on LinkedIn. So you're on that platform. Another thing could be SEO and blogs, which could be very evergreen and it will always be working for you in the background. So that could be a second option. Of course, you have like Instagram and Facebook and traditional social platforms. Networking virtually or in person could be another thing, and like communities could be the 5th thing. So yes, you're doing multiple things, but they don't all have to be like full force, full strategy. You can maybe spend like 1 hour a week on each thing, just to kind of like keep all of these things included. So that way you're reaching people in different places, but you're not like overwhelming yourself by doing like a full strategy on all these platforms.
Yeah, and we have to remember that repurposing content, where, create that blog, create the email, create a post.
Yeah.
You have content. It's not reinventing the wheel every time we go to show up somewhere. And remembering that, like you said, the SEO and the blogs is working for us all the time in the background. And maybe we are putting more effort and energy into those and then taking those bits to create for the other platforms.
Yeah, for sure. Repurposing is huge. So working on like one big piece of content a month and then turning that into your newsletter, turn that into multiple social posts and use that to kind of work to your advantage. And even repurposing old content. So I always recommend going back and refreshing old blog content. So Google doesn't like these dead pages. So maybe do keyword research and kind of update the content, make things timely, and use that again. So you don't have to write a new blog every single month. That could be refreshing old content as well.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good use of our knowledge that we already have. And as introverts, I know we don't want our voice to be shouted. We want to still be heard. And I think these strategies are a great way for us to be loud and to have our voice be heard within our marketing.
Yeah, it's unrealistic essentially to just be on one platform these days, but it doesn't need to be like overwhelming. You can definitely use the same content everywhere. You can say the same thing over and over and over again, because the reality is we don't remember anything. I don't even remember the last 2 posts I saw on social media. I don't remember my good friends' social media posts. So it's important to say the same thing over and over and over again too. You don't need to totally come up with something new and fresh every time as well.
Yeah, and I think that's that's a key point that we need to keep driving home, is that the more we repeat, the more people go, if they hear something, they recognize our brand, they recognize our messaging, and they might remember us, because the whole point of social media and all this content is so that we are top of mind when they have a problem. And so the more we can repeat ourselves and really say, hey, I've got you, and then creating those one-on-one connections, whether that's, in DMs, emails, or in person and communities, then it really can propel our business with our marketing.
Yeah. And it's like you have to say it over and over again. I was chatting with like 2 people in a call that we all really know each other's businesses. We know all the things. And I said like my tagline, essentially like I build communities around brands. And both of them are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Like you need to use that more. And I'm like, that's literally my tagline. So like the people that are close to you don't even know it. And maybe it sounds like, to me, I do a lot of networking, so I am saying my pitch all the time. So maybe in my mind, I'm like, oh, I talk about this all the time. But even people close to you don't know like the specific details. So definitely say it over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it's so crazy when you're like, oh, well, my best friend, or like, my business best friend should know, but they don't always know. And so it is really important to just keep repeating. And I've noticed lately in the marketing space is that people are more focusing on like the micro stories and really getting down to the nitty-gritty of how they can relate to you on like an everyday level. Are you finding that is where it's, marketing has always been broad, I guess, in some way, but I feel like as time goes on and as things change and evolve, we are really wanting more nitty-gritty details.
Yeah, definitely. Bringing in that human connection is super important. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you're a service provider, if you sell products, like you have to have some sort of connection. And it feels like, especially as an introvert, like we are not great at putting ourselves out there and kind of maybe being vulnerable, or even me, like I'm fine with doing it, but I can't even think of like what would be fun to talk about. But people want to hear your stories. They want to connect with you, especially as AI is taking over and more people are using that to write their copy. nothing is like original or personable or authentic anymore. So it's super easy to stand out just by using your own voice. So I really don't recommend, like, I'm not anti-AI, but I do think social media is not the place for that, because that's where you want to go to make strong connections. So like using it to write your social copy is not smart. So just be yourself, just be authentic. You'll make those connections, because people are tired of seeing the same. I know I just said say the same thing over and over again, but people are tired of seeing like the same format of AI. The sentences are all the same. There's no like depth to it. The words are the same. And so we're kind of tuning these things out. And then on top of that, like everybody uses Canva, which I use and love, but all of our posts look the same. So everything's just blurring together, which is why you need to use your own voice and you need to say things over and over again.
Yeah, I really agree. It feels like I was, scrolling just to see, and all I kept thinking was, how can I be different? What can I post instead of this? Or, okay, I like this trend, but does it need to be coming from me? It's really choosing, how can I show up differently? What can I say today that's going to make a difference?
Yeah, I definitely believe in like quality over quantity. So, which could help, right? If you're just spending like maybe one post a week and you're putting a lot of thought into it to like, really, what is the value? What can people take away from this? And how can I share what I do as well? It doesn't have to be hard anymore. I think we overthink it for sure, and that's why I really like these community spaces, so that you can like, am I thinking about this too much? Let's like get some feedback and like thoughts on it. But yeah, just pretend like you're chatting to a friend, and you will see so many more results that way, and it can be so much easier too.
Yeah, because we love to overthink and go, well, I'm just going to add in all this and I'm going to create this and then do this. But when we just bring it back and simplify it and, have a clearer message, when we can simplify it with our own words instead of putting it into AI and going, please elaborate on this and create all of this, is going to overwhelm you way more than your brain even does.
Yeah. Yeah, there definitely gets to be a point where it's like too much information, too many options. Then you're just stirring on them all. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a thing.
Yeah. So when you're speaking to introverts and they're just really struggling to find their voice and find their confidence in their marketing, what do you like to tell them?
Yeah, that's been something I've been seeing a lot, is like, I'm comparing myself, like, I do competitor research and then I'm just stuck on comparing, or why would there's like so much advice already out on the internet. What do I have to say that's different? And those are all very relatable and something everybody feels. So if that helps you at all, you're definitely not alone in that. What I would say is like finding whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you really like to do, and use that as your main content thing. So like, I have a friend who goes on walks every day, and she's always creating stories, like Instagram stories, and just talking to us on her stories. And so like that one is a good place for her to show up and feel confident, because it's something she's already doing naturally every day. Two, it's very personable. Like, it's casual, you're on stories. It feels like we're FaceTiming each other. And so like, that's a really good way to connect, but also feel confident, because it's like, oh, I'm already doing this. If you are really into writing, maybe you're not like spending time investing on social media, but you're just doing blogs and like SEO or newsletters. If you're really into talking with people, maybe you're just doing networking events or webinars or something, or podcasts. So I always recommend finding what it is that you enjoy doing and then using that to like drive your marketing strategy. Because yeah, if you're like, for me personally, I don't like to do graphics. I hate spending time creating carousels, and it's annoying. And like, then once I'm done, I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel good. But it is really easy for me to just like record a video and post a TikTok or a reel. So then that's what I'm going to run with, right? So that's what you feel more confident in doing. And then the content comes out better as well because you feel more confident as you're doing it.
Yeah, I think we have to find our avenue on how we want to feel confident, and you have to potentially push yourself out of your comfort zone to find that thing. Maybe you haven't, posted a talking head reel before, but how do you know if you're not good at it or that's not your thing if you haven't done it before? So I think trying some new avenues could also bring out a different creativity point in you to boost your marketing even more.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely test things out. Be uncomfortable. Owning a business is all about being uncomfortable. It's the reality of it. It's the biggest personal development journey you will ever go on. And it's so worth it. Like last January, if you would have told me I'd been doing podcasts or going to in-person networking events, I'd be like, I will never ever do that. But I spent all of last year and all of this year just really putting myself in uncomfortable situations. And there's been so much benefit from it. And now not a lot of things are scary. So that's fun. That's good.
Yeah. And I think when we decide to push, it goes, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I get to connect with people, and which is what introverts love to do. We have to remember is we love to connect with people on a different level. So we have to find that level. And sometimes, we have to go outside the comfort zone. It's going to be uncomfortable at first, but then it's not so scary. Like you said, you just keep doing it and it's worth it. The benefits are worth it. Or you go, wow, that's really not for me. And then you move on to the next one.
Yeah. And you'll also learn your boundaries too. Your social battery will run out. So okay, I have 2 things on my calendar that require me to really be out there today. I'm going to block the rest of my calendar off. So for the day, so that way nothing else pops up. And that's my boundary for how much of my social battery I'm using for the day. So you'll kind of learn where, how many hours essentially until your battery is dead. And that really helps navigate things too. So just be realistic as you're planning your calendar. I definitely went overboard when I started. I was just okay, yes, every event. And that was too much. So now I'm finally in a good balance of understanding where my personal social batteries are. And that also makes things so much easier too.
Yeah, it's really about finding that where your energy is and where you need to boost it and where you need to go down, and also just preparing. Okay, I know that I have an in-person event and then I have a networking call and I have all of this. What are the things I'm going to do before? And then what are the things I'm going to do after on all of the introvert, so that we can go into our hidey hole afterwards and give ourselves time so that we can re-energize and continue doing it.
Yeah.
So where can we find you? You did mention your greenhouse community. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So thanks for asking. So you can find me at plantsandmarketing.com or Plants and Marketing on every social platform. I made that hard for myself. I'm everywhere. So you can find me anywhere online that you live and connect with me. Plantandmarketing.com has tons of resources for small businesses. I have a lot of free downloads. I post all the events that I have coming up. You can find info on services to work with me or more info about the greenhouse. So that's a monthly membership for solopreneurs or anybody in the DIY stage. There are resources like workbooks, courses, hands-on workshops, things like that. I do open office hours to get one-on-one support. And then there are forums. So what really makes it special is that, yes, there's resources that you can essentially find anywhere else on the internet, but I'm there to support you along the way as well. So at the end of the workshop, you're not okay, now what the hell do I do with that? How do I apply that to my business? I can support you with that. So feel free to look all that up or connect with me and send me a message if you have any questions.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. I love that you not only provide all the resources, but say, hey, I will support you, and have that community around you supporting you as well. So I will have all the links below in the show notes. So make sure that you go find Planted Marketing and get all of the info and connect, send a message, an email, however you communicate. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Good chat.